Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the live of the story 12 of my series 2022. Hello, all my patrons. Whether you're here now, coming in, tuning in, or you're going to tune in later, so good to see you. So good to be here. So much has been going on, so much to explore, so much to experiment with. I've had some really amazing events happening this week with various clients that have just exploded in their growth, in their connection to their sexuality. And I encourage you to check my YouTube videos. I'm going to be making more videos around sexuality, talking about sexuality and growing in sexuality, and here. So check that out. This is story 12, and I'll have one more for story 13 for season 1. 13 stories. People can come in and get some juicy tales. You know, when you're an intimacy, relationship, sexuality coach, you have to have a lot of experience. You can't just start coaching people around sexuality and really not get it and really not know about it, really not have explored deeply. And I mean, you've opened doors and you have tried lots of things, and um, you've been through many relationships. So that's kind of where I've been at. I've been in a 23-year marriage. I've been in lots of relationships. I'm now 58 years old, so I have many years behind me. I've explored a lot. I've had a lot of experiences sexually. And there was a period of my life of particularly a period of 10 years, where there was just a lot of very intense exploration with one of my partners, with my ex-husband. And so a lot of the stories are coming from that time. I'm not as deeply sexually exploring with in an external way. Let's say I'm doing a lot of internal sexual exploration now, which is slightly different, but you need a different kind of person for that. And also finding out a lot more about myself. So this I wanted to talk about this because I'm going to do a whole series. I'm going to do a whole series about kinks, the different kinds of kinks that exist within sexuality. I believe there's endless numbers of kinks. Really, I've worked with people that have kinks that you just would not believe that they exist, but they do. Anything can be sexualized, and there's always somebody that gets turned on by some kind of a specific kind of a kink. Just to give you some examples, and maybe some of you have some experience around this, but I used to go to a lot of fetish clubs, and I used to work with people that wanted to explore their kinks. And some of the more interesting kinks, I mean, there's a standard kind of kinky stuff with domination, submission, and within domination, there's a lot of things that people do. And within submission, there's a lot of things that people do. And I saw a lot of that, people that like to be on with collars and like treated like little puppy dogs or little kitty cats, or people who like to get people to do all sorts of things for them sexually, privately, publicly. I've seen people who get turned on. There was one sex club that I used to go to. It was kind of a kink club. And there was a guy who was dressed up as a shoe shiner. You had to dress up as your own kink if you wanted to get in. So he was a shoe shiner, and he got turned on by shining people's shoes. He was sort of a turn of the century shoe shiner dressed like that. And he was just shining shoes all night and loving it. And there were people as well on the other side of things that love to get their shoes shined. So imagine, like, here's a kink club, a BDSM kink club, where somebody is consciously, honestly being a shoe shiner because it gets them turned on, and people are getting their shoes shined because they honestly, consciously want to get turned on by somebody down at their feet shining their shoe. And that can be a kink, okay? That can be a kink from, wearing a lot of kinds of lingerie and like to be in your lingerie and be like a little slut. That can be a kink to, um, there are kinks around whipping and slapping and things that cause a lot of pain, various kinds of pain. And there are spanking kinks where people like to get spanked. Spanked softly, spanked hard, spanked by various people, spanked by different kinds of tools. Um, so that's a whole world, the spanking kink. And it's big. It's big. Spanking not just for women, but spanking for men, men spanking women, women spanking men, different people spanking different people. The butt is popular. The butt has never been so popular as it is now, actually. And the bigger your butt, the better, right? The bigger your butt, the better. I'm in Brazil, and it is all about the butt, the round butt. It's like two footballs, they say football, soccer balls, like that on your butt, and hard, strong, because women work out to get those kinds of butts. It's coveted, the butts. And of course, when you have the big butt, everybody wants to spank that big butt, right? Not everybody, but there's many people who have the butt spanking fetish. So for me, I never like to have my butt touched for most of my life, seriously. And I just was not into it. It was not something that was of interest to me. I didn't like it, actually. I did not like it when someone smacked my butt. It felt really uncomfortable. It took me out of the zone. It took me out of any kind of feeling of sensuality or eroticism. And with my husband for the first 10 years, 11 years, there was no spanking going on at all. Whenever he spanked my butt, I didn't like it. It was never pleasurable. And he never just never did it. It was never something that we got into. But things change, right? Desires change. Your desires change over time. You play out desires that you have, and you play them out, and then it comes to a point where they're kind of boring. You don't want to do those kinds of things anymore, or you're bored by them, or you and your partner have played them out beyond played them out. And you're starting to feel like, wow, I really would like to do something else. I really like to feel something else. And you start to have these other desires. So we had been married 11, 12 years. He come out as bisexual. We had opened our relationship, but we weren't really doing anything about how to open it yet. We were still in the kind of beginning stages. But we were opening, we were opening to each other in different ways. We were excited by the possibility. We were having a lot of sex, more than we had had the first 11 years of our life. We were having a lot of sex. And we had come back from a holiday, from a long holiday, and a long traveling holiday, actually. And now we were doing our own thing, what we really wanted to be focusing on. We're both artists. I was making films. He was writing a book. And we were having a lot of sex, and we were starting to meet people, and we were just sort of starting to figure out what was this going to all be about. And we were really heated up a lot of the time. I was very excited to be with him, and he was very, very creative in how we were connecting and trying new things. And he started writing a book. So he took a little office away from the house so he could be really focused in an office that actually didn't have any internet. And so it gave him that time to be really private over there. And One day I came by, many days, but this particular day I came by, we were very excited, and we hadn't had sex in that room yet, but this was the time. And we were kind of pretending a little bit that I had dropped in to find out about his book, and he was the writer going to tell me, and we were both excited by us coming together and playing out doing this little role play. And I was asking him questions about writing, and he was telling me, and I was getting excited, and he was saying he wanted to show me some things. Um, and we started playing around, and then at one point he smacks my butt, something he had not done for the first 11 years. And it kind of startled me because I normally would have been very reactionary to my butt being slapped, but I was like, oh, that feels kind of good. I didn't sort of pull away. And we continued with this little play, and then my clothes were off, and now, he's playing around with touching me all over, and he's getting really excited, getting a big heart on, and um, I start like kissing his body, and I go down on him and kind of turn to the side, and he smacks my butt while I am going down on him. And I was so excited. Like it was somehow something had triggered in me that, whoa, that feels really good. And I got even more excited. And he got really excited. So he slapped my ass again. And he slapped my ass a number of times. That little encounter, we started having sex. We were super horny, super excited. We only had a short time though, because it was kind of like this break he was taking from writing. So I wasn't planning to stay there that long, and we ended up having sex for longer than anticipated. It was like in this little basement suite, dark, completely isolated. And so it was really exciting that, okay, I gotta go. He said, I gotta get my writing going, time to leave. I'll see you, I'll get to you later. And I left there just like, oh my goodness, like I really like this butt slapping thing. That really added to the connection, added to the sensuality, added to the edginess of the connection that we were having. But he didn't spank me prior to us already being turned on. I was already very turned on. I was in the sexual act, and then he spanked me. So it was like I had been quite warmed up, and I think that made a big difference, because just spanking me cold may not have been such a good move. So he always just kind of went with whatever he felt, and I also did as well. And the spank was a super big turn on. Have you ever been spanked before, or have you ever spanked anyone before, and how do you like it? Do you like it? So that was the entry into spanking. And from that event on, after I left and we were apart again for another 4 or 5 hours, he was writing, doing his thing, and I was going to do my work. When we got together again, we were so excited by the spanking. I said, I really like that. And he's like, I did too. And so it started to become more and more incorporated. He started to love it. I started to really love it as well. He would take me over his knee and spank me, and it started very gentle, not too hard, not too painful, just enough, just enough pain. So I got some really good spankings over the butt during intercourse, after intercourse, before. It just became a major aspect of our relationship and our connection. And from the spanking, it opened up a lot of doors, because spanking is really a form of submission, right? I had actually spanked him in the past. We had played around years before about me being dominant, and I was spanking him, but I had never really done it before. I was scared to do it too hard. A man's ass can take a hell of a lot more than a woman's ass, for sure. And I was doing it as hard as I could, but I just felt like I felt bad. Like I felt like it was too painful for him. It was painful for me, let's say. So we played around with it for a bit, and it didn't last that long. But now the times had, and he was being submissive to me at that time. So now I was a submissive, and because we hadn't really started to go into that submission kinky element yet, but the spanking started to take us there because the spanking is a form of submission. So it then started to turn into get ready, honey, because it's spanking night. I'm like, oh, spanking night. Ooh, how nice. And it would be a spanking night, like a warm up towards what was going to happen, getting the right outfit on, being that little naughty girl that was going to get a spanking. And that's how it started to play out. And it was very exciting. The spanking would lead then into sex. It was like we were warming up to get there, and then when the spanking happened, it led us into having an even more potent connective sexual experience. And spanking usually, and was at that time very exciting for me to be put over his knee. So then again, it's a control thing, and we're getting into a little bit of taboo play here because he was starting to take the role of daddy. So I'm like, okay, daddy, you're a naughty girl, and daddy's going to give you a spanking. So there was always something I was naughty for, always some reason to give Leanna a spanking. And the naughty girl got a spanking, and it felt good because I like to be a naughty girl, and the naughty girl was very slutty and naughty, and so the spanking came really natural and was a really beautiful addition to our intimate play. And it I can't really say how it was exactly for him, but I know he absolutely loved it. And he got into it deeper and deeper. And I'm going to talk about where our spanking went in another video, because that leads to a lot of other things. But at this point, it was a submission kind of scenario that I thought I was put into. He was spanking me. And then we started to, because the spanking had been incorporated in our life, we started to look around at who else is doing spanking, what is happening with spanking. And we started to see that it was happening in BDSM clubs. It was happening. Of course, it was happening before we noticed it. But when you don't notice these things until you actually go in to experimenting yourself and really starting to understand what this is all about. And then we started to be introduced to these spanking benches that women would lean over and they'd get some good spankings. Then there's the spanking tools that we started to see: paddles, flogs, whips, not just the hand. I mean, lots of different things used for spanking. Spoons, wooden spoons, whatever people can find, whatever people want. And it is a thing that you require consent, because it can go from a very mild type of spank to a very intense kind of a spank. Some people can take a very, very, very intense spank. I could take a pretty hard spank. And I was starting to take a pretty hard spank. I wasn't allowed, because it was a submissive thing, no one else was allowed to spank me except my daddy, okay? And that became a rule. He just wanted full control over the spanking, even when we went to clubs, where kinky clubs, and somebody would ask if they could spank me. Maybe he had spanked me a bit over a spanking bench. Someone asked if they could spank me, and he would say, no, no, this is my naughty girl to spank, nobody else's. So there was that form of control, which was kind of fun because I like to be objectified at that time. It's a very fun, kinky exploration to be one that wants to be objectified. And I talk about that in my last video. where in an experience that I was objectified, and there were many more experiences that I had that I was objectified. And it is that objectification is all about surrender, right? You really just surrender yourself to whoever wants to do whatever to you. And then you let go, you let whatever happens. And they talk about you in front of you and they treat you like you're not really there, but you are sort of this object. And it feels good. It feels good because you don't have to think about anything. You don't have to do anything. You're just like the object of desire. What do you do with me? And at that point, I was the spanking object. Naughty little girl, naughty little slut girl spanked by her daddy. So that was how I forayed into spanking. Love to know if you are into spanking, if that's something you would love to try, and if you have tried or not, or if you've got a partner that is really into it. There are always people that are into spanking, of all genders and of all genders. I have been spanked. I have been spanked many, many times, and I have given many, many, many spankings too. So, men and women. So there you go. So just wanted to get into that, and I want to talk some more about some other kinks as we go along. I'd love to hear about what kinks you're interested in. I have played around with a lot of kind of kinky stuff. Some of it's not for me, but I always open the door to the possibility to, let's see what it's like. Let's give it a try. Let me see if I enjoy it. Yeah, so spanking was the kink at that time. And it, I talk about this a lot, about if you're interested in spanking your partner, you're kind of excited by the possibility of putting her over your knee and spanking her, and she's kind of scared, or she's not quite there yet. Don't introduce spanking unless she's really warmed up and really in a good sexual space, right? So that she becomes part of the sexual connection. A lot of women don't like it when men just spank their ass randomly because they're not really in that space. They might be doing something else. I mean, I even now, they don't like it too much if I'm cooking and I'm doing something and then my husband comes around and gives me a spank on the ass. I don't really like it because I'm not in that frame of mind at all. I am completely somewhere else. I'm cooking, I'm making meals, I got something on the stove, I got something over here and here. And he just loves to see me in the kitchen. And that's when he gets horny and he likes to come over and spank me or grab me. And I don't like it because, I'm cooking. Stuff can burn. Stuff can, I gotta focus. So make sure it's a time when she's really into sex and turned on and in the moment, and then just give her a little smack and see what happens and see how she likes it and introduce it like that. So bring it into the sexual connection already, and that's how I suggest you do it. And it may work, and she may really like it, and then you may be able to move from there into more possibilities of spanking her. Okay, well, thank you very much for coming today. Really great to be here and nice to see you. And I will be back next month with another story of some sort. And I will see you then. Much love making.